Every thought you think sends a signal out into the quantum field. That thought, when you sustain and emotionally charged, begin to shape the very fabric of your reality. Your brain is a record of the past, wired through repeated experiences. And it is also the architect of your future if you learn to direct it properly. What most people don't realize is that their thoughts are not just fleeting electric impulses. They are blueprints, powerful instruction being broadcast to the energetic field around them. When you think a thought, especially one loaded with emotion, whether it is fear, hope, gratitude, or frustration, you fire specific neural circuits in the brain. If you fire them often enough and they begin to wire together, forming a neural pathway, that pathway becomes a belief. And belief repeated long enough begin to filter how you see the world. Eventually, you stop seeing the world as it is and begin to see it as you are. Your thought begin to shape your perception, and your perception becomes your experience. This is not simply a philosophical idea. Neuroscience confirmed that the brain does not know the difference between the real experience in the outer world and the one vividly imagined. If you close your eye and fully engage in visualizing a joyful future event, the same area of your brain lights up as if the event were actually occurring now. Your heart rate can change. Your breathing shifts. Hormones are released. The body begins to respond as though the imagined future is real in the present moment. So if your brain and body can respond to the thought alone, the questions become, what are you rehearsing every day in your mind? Are you running mental movie of everything that went wrong yesterday? Are you replaying conversations where you felt unheard, unseen, or disrespect? Are you imagining a future where things continue to go wrong? Where you remain stuck? Where you are not good enough? Because every time you do that, you are reinforcing the same neural architecture. You are firing and wiring the same thought. You are instructing your body to produce the same chemical, and those chemicals become your emotional state. That emotional state then detect the lenses through which you see your life. And if your environment, your behavior, and your emotions are staying the same day after day, how can you expect anything to change in your life? Now imagine the opposite. Imagine waking up and instead of unconsciously reliving your past, you consciously start to think about the future you want. You begin to think new thoughts. Thoughts like, I am worthy of love. I am capable of extraordinary change. Or everything I need is already within me. At first, those thoughts might feel unfamiliar. They might even feel like they are a bunch of lies because they contradict years of conditioning. But if you persist, if you keep thinking, fire them, visualizing them, keep feeling them as real, your brain will begin to rewire itself. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Your brain will begin to look like the person you are becoming, not the person you have been. When you start to think from the end, when you start to imagine your future self in vivid details, when you feel the emotions of already having achieved your goal, your body doesn't know the difference. It begins to live in that new reality. And over time, the outer world will begin to reflect what you consistently rehearse on the inside. This is how thought becomes matter. This is how the invisible becomes visible. This is how you collapse the wave of possibility into the particle of experience. But you must do it every day. You must become more interested in who you want to be than who you have been. You must recognize when you are falling back into the old thought patterns, those predictable mental loops of worry, guilt, shame, or unworthiness, and break the cycle with intention. You have to become the observer of your thought and not the servant to them. You must learn to pause and ask, is this thought creating my future or is it keeping me in my past? You see, most people are living in a state of unconscious repetition. They wake up in the morning, think the same thought, perform the same action, feel the same emotion, and expect a different life to magically appear. But if you want a different future, you have to become a different thinker. You have to start thinking beyond your environment, beyond your current identity, and beyond your emotional addictions. And let's be honest, thinking greater than your environment is not easy. The world around you will try to pull you back into what you're familiar with, into your familiar habits. Your phone will demand your attention. Your circumstances may challenge your vision. People in your life might not even understand your transformation. But if you stay committed in this inner work, if you become more loyal to your future than your past, you begin to tap into an inner power that most never access. It's not just about thinking positively. That's a very superficial level. It's about thinking intentionally with clarity and emotional energy. It's about rehearsing the thoughts that align with the person you wish to become until your body believes it and your life begins to reflect it. Your thoughts are not random. They are powerful tools for transformation. Use them with care. Use them with purpose. Think as if your life depends on it, because in truth, it does. The greatest challenge in personal transformation is not the external world. It is your job, your relationship, even your circumstances. The greatest challenge is breaking free from the identity you have rehearsed for so long that it has become automatic. The old self, with its familiar habits, routines, emotional reactions, and thought patterns, act like a gravitational pull, constantly trying to bring you back into alignment with who you have been, not who you are becoming. When you wake up in the morning, the moment you open your eyes, your brain starts running through a predictable checklist. The memory of yesterday resurfaces. The problem that you were facing yesterday come back online. You remember who you are. A name, a body, a personality, a job, a schedule, your relationship, your problem. Instantly, you're plugged back into the story of the old self. And because your thoughts are connected to your emotion, you begin to feel the same way as you did yesterday. That familiar cascade of chemicals, whether it's stress, frustrations, war, or anxiety, start flowing. And your body, which has been conditioned to these emotions over time, become your subconscious mind. This is the point where most people live their life. The body takes over. The program runs itself. You get out of bed on the same side, shower the same way, drink your coffee, drive to work, interact with the same people, think the same thought, and feel the same emotion. And by the time the day ends, you're back in bed, reflecting on a reality that's simply reaffirming your identity. Nothing changed because you never change. You repeat the same level of mind, the same level of energy, and the same behavior that you have been rehearsing for years. To truly change your life, you have to disrupt this autopilot, this programming. You have to break the habit of being your old self. And that begins with awareness. You must become so conscious of your unconscious self that you can observe it without judgment and begin to choose differently. This process is not easy because the body has been trained to be the mind. It is memorizing the emotional pattern of your past. If you spend years waking up and feeling unworthy, your body expects that feeling like a drug. It is craving it. It anticipates it. And when you start to do the work of breaking that cycle, the body resists. It throw up discomfort. It sends signal to your brain and say, this does not feel right. Go back to who we have always been. That resistance is part of the transformation. It is evidence that change is happening. But to move beyond the non-self, you must be willing to sit in the discomfort of the unfamiliar. You must be willing to face the thought that say, I am not enough, and respond with conscious intention. You must challenge that behavior that no longer serve you, the habits that keep you looping through the same experience, and the emotions that anchor you to your history. This means you have to stop being defined by your past. Stop telling yourself story rooted in limitations. Stop identifying with wounds and experience that no longer represent the future you're creating. The moment you start to detach from that narrative, that you create space for something new, you open the door of possibility, but you can't walk through that door still carrying the baggage of your old self. So, breaking the habits requires repetition. It requires daily commitment to becoming aware of your thought, catching yourself when you drift into the familiar pattern, and choosing a new course. Even if it is uncomfortable in those moments, when the pull of the old is so strong, it's strongest that you have your greatest opportunity for change. Each time you overwrite the old program, each time you choose a different thought, each time you overwrite them and you choose a different response, a different behavior, you are pruning away the neural connections of the past and signaling to your brain that a new version of you is being born. You are literally memorizing yourself. You are teaching your body how to feel differently, how to respond differently, how to exist in a new state of being. And just like building muscle, this process requires consistent effort, but the payoff is extraordinary. Over time, the discomfort fades away. The new self becomes more familiar, and the reality you begin to experience reflect the change. The truth is, your personality create your personal reality. So if you want to change your life, you have to change your personality. That means letting go of who you have been, your attitude, your emotional, your addictions, your belief, and becoming who you truly are beneath the condition. This is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice. It is waking up and choosing to no longer be the victim, no longer be the person who self-doubt, no longer be the person who procrastinate, complain, or fear the future. And it all begins with the willingness to break the cycle, to look at yourself honestly and ask, what thought do I want to think every day that are keeping, and what thoughts do I think every day that are keeping me the same? What emotions am I addicted to that are anchoring me to the past? What behaviors am I repeating that no longer serve who I want to be? When you start asking these questions, you bring the unconscious into the light of awareness. And with that awareness comes choice. Now you can choose to respond instead of reacting. You can choose intentions over repetitions. You can choose creations over memorization. The old self doesn't go quietly. It will try to pull you back with familiar voice, familiar feeling. But every time you override it, every time you rise above it, you weaken its hold. You lose the change of your past, your identity, and begin to embody a new one. The new self has always been waiting for you all along, beyond the view of your conditioned mind, beyond the emotional patterns that you have been rehearsed for years. And the more you visit, the more real it becomes. The moment you begin to imagine a future experience, a reality you wish to create, and you do so with enough clarity and emotion, your body begin to live in that experience as if it were happening in the present moment. This is not about wishful thinking or fantasy. It is called a deliberate act of creation. We train the body and mind to believe in a future more than the memory of the past. When you embody the future now, you begin to shift your energy and biology to align with what you desire. And that shift is what initiates the transformations of your external world. Most people wait for their life to change before they feel different. They believe they need a new job before they can feel abundant, the relationship before they feel love, the success before they feel empowered. But this model is so backward. Waiting for external conditions to shift before you change your internal state means you're a victim to your environment. You are relying on the known, predictable world to provide you with something new. But the truth is, nothing changes until you change your state of being. When you learn how to feel abundant before the wealth come, when you feel love before the relationship appear, when you feel whole before the healing is complete, then you are signaling to your body and the feel that the future is already happening. The body doesn't know the difference between an emotions created by an experience and one that created by thought alone. This is the gateway to real transformation. If you close your eye and vividly imagine the life you want, feel it, see it, hear it, your brain begins to fire in new sequence and pattern. It starts to look as if the future you are envisioning is already happening. And as you emotionally embrace this inner experience, the body begins to respond. It enters the present moment with that new chemistry. Now, instead of being anchored to the emotions of the past like fear, guilt, shame, unworthy, lack, and resentment, you are flooding your system with the feelings of gratitude, confidence, joy, inspirations, and freedom. This internal shift is what causes the outer world to respond. When you maintain an elevated emotional state, you are broadcasting a new electromagnetic signature into the field. That signature is a signal, one that aligns with the possibility of your future and begins to draw it to you. But the key is consistency. One moment of elevated emotion is not enough to overcome your years of programming. You must practice it daily. You must live and feel and act as if your future is happening now, over and over again, until your body begins to trust that this new reality is not just possible, it is inevitable. This process requires you to be greater than your environment. You may not see the evidence of change right now. The world might still reflect the old patterns, but your job is not to reflect to that. Your job is to hold that vibrations of your future, of your desired future, regardless of what your senses tell you. This is the essence of creating from the quantum level, where causes and effects are reversed. Instead of waiting for the effect to feel the emotion, you generate the emotions to become the cause. This is where most people give up. They look around, and when nothing appears to be changing, they return to their old thoughts and emotions. They stop believing, and the body slide back into the known. But the master, the one who truly transform, are those who persist in embodying their future, even in the absence of the physical evidence. They have been trained their inner world to become more real than the outer one. And because of that, the outer world eventually transform, conform. To embody the future now means to think and feel and behave as if you are already the person you intend to become. If the future versions of you is confident, how would you think? How would you think? How would you speak? What decisions would you make? How would you treat others? How would others treat you? How would you treat yourself? When you start to answer those questions and live into them, you are no longer just visualizing your future. You are becoming it. You are aligning with your thoughts, feelings, and actions with a new timeline. And that alignment is what moves you from potential into manifestation. It's important to understand that this embodiment is not just mental. It is not enough to think positive. It's not enough to have positive thoughts. If your body is still addicted to worry, fear, you must bring the body into the same, you must bring the body into the same state of mind. This is where elevated emotions comes in. It becomes so crucial. Thought is an electrical charge, and emotion is the magnetic field. Together, they create electromagnetic signature you are sending out. And if that signature match the future you are dreaming, then by universal law, it must find its way to you. And again, I will repeat, thought is the electrical charge and emotion is the magnetic field. Together, they create the electromagnetic signature you are sending out. And if the signature match the future you are dreaming of, then by universal law, it must find its way to you. The practice is simple in structure, but profound in impact. You start by getting really clear on your visions, who you want to be, what you want to experience, how it feels to live that life. Then you rehearse it every day. You wake up, and before your feet hit the floor, you turn into the emotional state of your future. You visualize it, you feel it, you breathe into it as if it's already yours. And throughout the day, you make decisions from that state. You act in alignment with that future. You interrupt old patterns, refuse old trigger, and instead choose behaviors that reflect the new identity you are cultivating. In doing so, you shorten the gap between who you are and who you are becoming. So again, you act in alignment with that future. You interrupt the old patterns, refuse the old trigger, and instead choose new behaviors that reflect the new identity that you are cultivating. In doing so, you shorten the gap between who you are and who you are becoming. You are no longer waiting for life to change so you can feel better. You are changing now. You are changing how you feel. So life has no choice but to respond differently. this is how the gap between the imagined future and your present experience begins to close. When you live as if your future is now, you become very magnetic to it. And that versions of you, the one already living the life you desire, begins to take over as the dominant expressions of who you are. Emotions are the language of the body, and how you feel on a moment-to-moment basis determines the quality of your life. If your body is addicted to survival mode, addicted to survival emotions like fear, anger, resentment, guilt, or anxiety, then by default, your energy is contracted. Your vision is narrow, and your ability to create a new future is deeply limited. These emotions are rooted in the past and designed for immediate response, not long-term creation. You cannot build a joyful, abundant, or inspired life while living in the emotional chemistry of the past. Every emotions you feel produce a chemical signal in your body. When you experience frustration, your body flood with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate increase, your immune system is suppressed, and your creative thinking shut down. Your entire physiology prepare for danger. Even if there's no real threat, this stress signal communicate to every cell that the environment is not safe. And when you live in this state over time, your body begins to deteriorate. Your body becomes trapped in survival, only capable of thinking equal to the emotion it is addicted to. So to change your life, you must first change your energy. And that's why in Qigong meditation, it is so critical to teach people. First, to really change your life, we need to change our energy. A lot of people get mixed up with the sequence of what they need to learn. Should I change my mindset? Should I heal my trauma? What should I do? The first thing is shift your energy. Calm down your nervous system. Reshift your vibration. We have over 30 trillion to 50 trillion cells in the body. You might have a positive thinking, but in your nervous system and your body cells are vibrating something that is fear, anger, resentment. You are not in alignment. You are sending a wrong signal to the universe. And that's why a lot of people I met, they say, see, I'm so confused. I spent thousands of dollars in this personal development and trauma healing, but I can't manifest my desire. And now I have come up with a formula that really help people manifest their desire quick, efficient, and productive, and close the gap even faster. So my Qigong meditation is to help people shift their energy, shift their internal state of being. Again, to change your life, you must first change your energy. To change your energy, you must change your emotional state. This is where elevated emotions become essential. When you begin to feel emotions like gratitude, joy, love, appreciation, peace, calm, inspirational, regardless of what is happening in your external world, you are signaling to your body that the future you desire is already unfolding. These elevated emotions are expansive. They open the heart. They activate high center in the brain. They create coherence between the heart and the mind. And most importantly, they align your energy with the life that you are trying to create. Gratitude, for example, is one of the most powerful elevated emotions because it signifies something has already happened. A lot of people can get to gratitude until they can calm their nervous system to feel peace, to feel ease, to feel relaxed. When you feel grateful before the event occurs, you are conditioning your body into the belief that your future is already real. You begin to live as if the desired outcome is not only possible, but is inevitable. This changes your frequency. It moves you out of separations and lack into connections and creations and abundance. And because the field respond not to what you want, but to who you are being, that emotional state becomes the magnet that draw the experience to you. The same is true with love, not romantic love dependence on someone else, but a pure, elevated state of love for life, for possibility, for self. When you generate this feeling from within you without needing any conditions in the outer world to produce it, you become very powerful. You stop being a reactor or a victim and start being a creator and a victor. And the more you practice this state, the more familiar it becomes. What once felt foreign begins to feel familiar, and it becomes very natural to you. Your body memorizes, your cell bathe in the chemistry of wellness, of abundance, of love, of gratitude. Your brain creates new pattern, new neural pathway. And over time, the new emotions becomes the new baseline of your identity. But to get there, you must be willing to do the inner work. You must become conscious of the emotions you live by every day. You must observe yourself and ask, what emotional state am I addicted to? What emotions are defining who I am being in the world? And once you identify them, you begin the process of emotional alchemy. You don't fight the old chemistry, the old emotions. You outgrow them. You replace them with elevated feeling. You sit with your heart, breathe deeply, and activate those higher energy until you feel real. At first, it may feel forced. You may feel resistant. Your body used to the familiar emotions of stress or sadness or not possible. They may even protest, but repetition changes everything. It changes your genetic. It changes your biology. It changes your neural pathway. And that's what neuroscience, epigenetic research have proven. The more you choose elevated emotion, the more you become your new emotions home. You are teaching your body what it feels like to live in a new reality before it arrives. And that emotional rehearsal becomes your preparations for the future. So again, the more you choose elevated emotions, the more they become your new emotional home. You are teaching your body what it feels like to live in a new reality before it arrives. And your body begins to anticipate that. Your brain begins to expect it. And in the quantum field, it begins to reorganize itself around it. This is not about ignoring the pain or pretending everything is perfect. Nothing happened. It's about acknowledging it. Why the pain may be part of your past. You have the power to choose how you feel now. And that choice is the foundations of transformation. You cannot attract a life of freedom and joy if your energy is still stuck in resentment and worry. You must first become the feeling of the life that you desire. You must carry the energy of the outcome, not the energy of the obstacle. Every time you elevate your emotional state, you break the cycle of the old self. You interrupt the feedback loops that tie your thoughts, feelings, and actions to the past. And in that elevated state, you become a match of the new possibility. You begin to see life differently. You become more open, more intuitive, more connected. Synchronicity appear, opportunities emerge. Your outer world start to reflect your inner transformation, not the other way around. It's not enough to think positively. Your energy must be coherent. Your thoughts and feelings must align. When you begin to think abundant thoughts while feeling gratitude, or when you think loving thoughts while feeling love, you create a powerful signal that affect not only your biology, but the energetic field around you. This is the language the universe responds to you. The universe responds not to words, but your vibration, not desire, but your embodiment. To elevate your emotional state is to claim your creative power. It is to decide every day. You will no longer wait for the circumstances to change, for the circumstances to detect how you feel. Instead, you will generate the feeling that create the circumstances. You are the generator. You generate the feeling first. This is the work to sit in stillness, turn into your heart, breathe deeply, and summon a greater feeling until it becomes who you are. And as you become it, your life begins to change in ways that seems magical. But in fact, the natural result of a new energetic signature. The human brain is not hardwired in the way that we once believed. It's malleable, adaptable, and constantly responding to experience. This quality, known as neuroplasticity, is what allowed you to change the very structure of your mind by thought alone. However, this change does not happen through occasional effort or fleeting intention. It happens only through repetition, intentional, consistent, deliberately repetition. Every time you think a thought, you fire a network of neurons in your brain. When you think the same thought repeatedly, you begin to wire those neurons together. They form stronger and faster connection. Eventually, that thought becomes automatic and it becomes part of your subconscious programming. Most people do not realize that 90 to 95% of who they are by the time they reach adulthood is a set of memorized behavior, emotional reaction, habits, belief, and perception. This means that only a small percentage of their thought and actions are actually conscious. The rest are simply recycled patterns from the past repeated so often that they feel like the truth. So if you are living in an autopilot thinking, the same thought, feeling the same emotion, making the same choices, then by definition, your future will look exactly like your past. The only way to change your future is to install new programming. And the only way to install that programming is through repetitions and meditation. Repetition is how you train your brain to believe in a new reality. It's not enough to visualize a better life once and expect miracle to happen. You must rehearse the new mind every single day, again and again, until it becomes familiar than the old one. You must decide who you want to be, and then think from that identity repeatedly until your brain accepts it as your new normal. These processes take energy, attention, and commitment, but it is how you evolve beyond your current limitations, your current circumstances. Let's say you want to become more confident. That versions of yourself already exist as a potential in the quantum field, but your brain doesn't recognize it as your reality yet. So you begin to imagine what that confident versions of you look like, act like, feel like. You close your eye, you meditate, you visualize it, you embody emotionally, and you do this not just once a day, but day after day, few times a day. Each time you do that, you're installing that new pattern into your brain. You are activating the same networks again and again and again. And with enough frequency, your brain begins to rewire itself. Eventually, those thoughts no longer feel foreign. The same apply to emotional state. If your emotional baseline has been stress, anxiety, or sadness for years, then you have chemically conditioned your body to be that state. You have memorized it so well that your body expects it. To change that, you have to start teaching your body what it feels to live in abundance, in a different emotional state, such as peace, joy, ease, gratitude, love, trust. This teaching is done through repetition. You sit down every day to yourself. You breathe into your heart. You feel those elevated emotions over and over again until your body starts to recognize them. At first, it may feel fake. You might well resist, but you stay consistent. The emotions become easier to access. The resistance will fade away. The new state becomes more natural. This is not just psychological, it is physiological. Repetition strengthens synaptic connection. The more you fire a circuit, the more myelin insulates the pathway, making it faster and more efficient. You are literally upgrading the hardware of your brain to support a new software. And over time, the old circuit, the one tied to your past identity, begin to weaken from lack of use and lack of attention. This is how you unlearn and relearn. This is how you move from who you have been to who you are becoming. But this practice goes deeper than just thinking or feeling. Repetitions also apply to the behavior. Every action you take is a vote for the person you are becoming. So you must act in alignment with the new self, even when it feels uncomfortable. If the future versions of you is disciplined, then you show up with discipline every day, no matter how you feel. If the future of you is loving and kind, then you practice being that way until it becomes a second nature to you. Your actions, when repeated consistently, teach your body what your mind has already begun to believe. And when your thoughts, emotions, and behavior all align, you enter a state of coherence, a powerful force, a very powerful force that magnetizes your intentions into the physical reality. Another critical aspect of repetition is your inner dialogue, the way you talk to yourself. The way you talk to yourself becomes your mental environment. If you continue to repeat the old inner monologue of limitation, I'm not good enough, I'll never change, it's too late, you are strengthening those circuits. So you must become conscious of your language. You must begin to speak to yourself in a way that reflects your future, not your past. Each time you affirm your new identity, I am powerful, I am aligned, I am enough, I have everything I need. You are engraving that truth deeper into your neural architecture. The truth is, change is not a one-time decision. It is a lifestyle. It is a commitment to thinking greater than your environment, greater than your circumstances, greater than the emotions that have defined you for so long. This commitment must be renewed every day through repetition. You are not just reciting affirmations or practicing visualization. You are participating in the reprogramming of your biology, of your brain. You are rehearsing a new mind and body into being. Every time you catch yourself drift into the old thought and bring your awareness back to your intention, you are reinforcing the new self. Every time you feel an old emotions rise up, choose to breathe through it. Instead of reacting it, you're creating a new emotional pattern. And every time you interrupt a limiting behavior, replace it with a conscious choice, you're building a new personality. And each repetition bring you closer to embodying the future you have been imagining. The past is not just something that happened. It is something most people live in every single day, often unconsciously. The thought you think, the emotions you feel, the habit you carry, many of them were formed years ago before you reached adulthood in response to your past experience. Those patterns are not mere reflections of your history. They are anchor that tether you to an outdated versions of yourself. And if you do not let go of your past identity, you will continue to recreate the same experience over and over again, no matter how much you want to change. To truly transform your life, you must become aware of who you have been. That means observing your automatic thought, your repetitions, emotional reactions, your deeply ingrained behavior, and ask, where did this come from? And is it still serving me? Is it still serving who I want to become? This is process is not about blaming, complaining, shaming, or regretting. It is about understanding. It is about recognizing that most of who you are right now is a record of your past. And unless you consciously choose to change the record, it will keep replaying over and over again, producing the same predictable outcome. The identity you currently live through is like a program. It was installed in you through repetitions and emotional experience. When you had certain experience, whether positive or negative or painful, your brain record that memory and your body store that emotional residue. Over time, the thought you kept thinking about those experiences become your belief. And over time, the feeling you feel most often became your emotional baseline. The actions you took in response become habits, and all of it fused together into what we call personality, a person reality. That is the identity you carry, and it is based on who you were, not who you can be. Letting go of the past identity does not mean forgiving your story. It means detach from the emotional energy that kept you stuck, that kept you locked inside it. For example, if you were once rejected or betrayed, and you have been carrying the pain for years, and every time you enter a new relationship, that old energy filter your perception. You don't respond to the now, the pleasant. You react from the past. You anticipate pain, so you act in fear. You expect loss, so you withhold love. You are not living fresh. You are reliving the history, and you're unconsciously creating the very outcome you fear. That's how powerful the past can be when it is left unprocessed. Your nervous system becomes addicted to the familiar emotions, stress, sadness, guilt, anger, and those chemicals become part of your identity. You may say you want happiness, I want success, you want connection, but if your body is conditioned to the emotional signature of the past, it will always find a way to pull you back into the known, even if the known is suffering. This is why transformations require more than just motivation. It requires a neurological and emotional rewiring. It requires a conscious decisions made again and again to let go of who you have been in order to become someone new. That decision is not a one-time one. It is a process of daily unlearning and relearning. You must catch the old self in the act. Notice the thought pattern that say, I cannot, I'm not enough, or this will never work for me. Observe the emotional reflexes when that arise in situations that remind you of your past. When someone criticizes you, when you feel left out, when things don't go your way, in those moments, you have the opportunities to pause and breathe in and to choose a different response. Each time you choose a different response, you are firing a new neural circuit, breaking the habit of being your old self and freeing your energy from the past. Letting go of the past also means forgiving, not just others, but yourself. Many people remain trapped in the regret, shame, or guilt, punishing themselves mentally for decisions they make when they did not know better. But holding on those emotions doesn't change the past. It only reinforces it. True forgiveness is not about saying what happened was okay. It was about releasing the emotional charge that binds you to it. It's about reclaiming your energy so you can use it to create something new. When you forgive, you are not letting anyone off the hook. You are liberating yourself from the chains of the past. Another key aspect of shedding the past identity is letting go of the familiar story you have been telling. The narrative that say this is just how I am, or it is just in my nature to be anxious or to control people, or always people leaving me. These are not facts. They are just interpretation. And the more you repeat them, the more you reinforce the old self. So ask yourself, what story am I telling myself? What story am I telling that keep me where I am? What would happen if I stop repeating that story, even to myself? Who would I become if I no longer identify by my struggle, by my limitation, by my hurt, by my past? The truth is, the past does not the truth is the past does not exist in the present moment unless you bring it with you. And most people bring it not through memory, but through the emotions they have memorized. So the work is to release those emotions. Emotions are energy in motion. Release the emotions to dismantle the neural architecture of the old self and imagine, feeling, and acting as if you are already living the versions of yourself you inspire to be. That versions of you does not drill onto the old pain. That version of you is not ruled by the old pattern. That versions of you think and act and feel in a new way because they have let go of what no longer serves them. These kind of inner transformations require courage, require support. It requires you to step into the unknown, to let go of what is familiar, let go of familiar identity without yet knowing exactly what the new one will feel like. It's like walking through a doorway, not being able to see what's on the other side. But that is where true change happens. Growth does not come from clinging to the known. It comes from surrendering into the possibility. And the only way to access that possibility is to release the grip of the past. Let go of the past. When you do that, you free up space for a new version of yourself to emerge. A version not defined by your history, but by the intention, visions, and conscious creation. Your life is not defined by your past, your circumstances, or even your current identity. It is shaped moment by moment by your willingness to become conscious of your thought, to take command of your emotional state, and to consistently embody the energy of the future you desire. You are not a victim of your reality. You are the creator of it. When you begin each day with intention, when you elevate your emotion despite outer condition, when you rewire your brain through repetition, release the identity rooted in the past, you step into your true power. You become the new person, living in alignment with a new personal reality. This is not theory. This is transformation. And it happens through daily practice by doing your inner work and through your unwavering commitment to become greater than your environment, your emotions, and the habits of who you used to be. The choice to change your life will never come from the outside. It always begins within you every single day. And so today, sit with yourself, meditate, get familiar with yourself. What were you thinking all this time? What kind of thoughts are you thinking? How are you feeling? And what behavior, habits, or action have you been taking? Have you been doing that has been preventing you from become the new versions of yourself? I will see you in my next video.